Hello, Bridget coming live with the 21 days, day 10 of the 21 days sacred breast meditation, or excuse me, sacred breast liberation challenge. And this is where we're taking properties of, or Jin Shin Jyutsu and doing a practical live here. So we're taking our left hand and putting on the upper right arm and our right hand on our upper left thigh. And this is a position to hold, just like acupuncture. Jin Shin Jyutsu is acupuncture, but without the needles. You're using your hands in order to place your, to get your energy to flow differently. We are energetic beings, and because we can move energy. When you shake, rub your hands like this and then place it on your body, or touch someone, like the carpet up, if you're walking on dry carpet in the winter and you rub your feet and then you touch someone, it's like an electrical shock. Well, that shows you your electrical being. As well as when you go outside, the reason why you feel so good is because that energy, that exchange from your body, let's say is a positive, going into the earth, which is a negative, or maybe it's opposite. Earth is positive, people are negative. And that interaction, that change, that discharge is a balancing act of your energy. And this is why inflammation is lowered when you go outside. The latest research is showing 20 minutes outside daily will help reduce inflammation. And when I studied with Deepak Chopra, he said 1 hour a day for grounding. And you can break this up 20 minutes, 3 times a day. This method here is done 3 times a day. And it's a total of 20 minutes because it's 10 minutes on one side, 10 minutes on the other. So you can, break it up. It doesn't have to be a whole sitting at one time. And Jin Shin Jyutsu is a 3,000-year-old healing art. It comes from Japan. It was brought to us by Mary in the 1950s, and it took her 15 years to write her texts. And I got confirmation that it was in 1979 that she finally published her first texts here in the United States. So it's been around here. So what would that be? 40 years? So that's 80, 20, 23, 24 years. And there's many practitioners all over the world now of Jin Shin Jyutsu. And I believe there's 3 or 4 different divisions or students that have broken off to teach it in their way. And it continues to be taught all over. It is the only modality that I found that actually you can give your clients homework with. And being a massage therapist, I no longer do massage. I do Jin Shin Jyutsu because it's easier on my body and it's something I can teach my clients. It's always good, of course, to, have your muscles manipulated in a way, but when your energy is in flow, you will be in flow physically. Mary always used to say that the unmanifested, which is out here, the mental and emotional bodies, become the physical, the manifested body. So, and that goes exact lining with Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, Joe Dispenza, Wayne Dyer. Your thoughts become things. And that's so clear now after many years of being sick and on the other side of menopause, and had a good 10-year run on autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's, amongst many other different projects that I had in my life. We say projects because a project you can actually work on. But a label like cancer or Hashimoto's or autoimmune disease, that's just a thing. It's not like it's just like you're taking ownership of it. Stop taking ownership of labels. When you go to the doctors, look at it as suggestions of what you're telling him your symptoms are, because he doesn't know you. He doesn't know your body. So how is he ever going to be able to diagnose? My doctors would tell me constantly, oh, your blood work is fine. You're normal. Everything's fine. You're normal. And I said, no, everything's not okay. I don't feel well. I don't feel 100%. Haven't for years. You know, fix me. What is wrong with me? And after 10 years of doing that and firing and hiring so many different doctors and specialists, I just said enough is enough. And that's when I quit my job and said, you know what, I'm going to figure this out myself. And I did. Because being a scientist that I am, I just started experimenting on myself, 30 different modalities. And I still today continue to learn. I'm on a lecture right now with Gabor Mate, who he was the first person that I heard saying that how trauma between the ages of 0 and 7 can become an autoimmune disease if you don't clear out that energy, if you don't, figure out what, basically undo the trauma of, when you were younger. Because we didn't have the experience that we have now. We didn't have the vision that we have now, or the perspective, or the experience. So when you revisit that, and you can during therapy, talk therapy, you can do it in a meditation. You can do it by journaling, reflecting, contemplating. Just kind of go back to that childhood room and kind of really be in it and ask questions like, what can I delete now that's no longer serves me? Forgiveness is good. You can always forgive your parents for not doing the best that they could, but they did the best that they could that they knew at that time. You can't really judge them that they were bad parents because they spanked us instead of putting us in the corner or talking to us. I mean, it was what it was. The belt in our house was common. You do something wrong at, it was 4 years old. I remember getting the leather belt, hit on me. We used to say back then in the 60s, oh, that's building character. Because little did we know, every child was, well, not every, I would say 85% of the friends I knew were getting hit or beat or abused somehow, whether it was mental or physical or both. I was both. Yay. But again, you learn from that. And then when you have children, you got to learn to break that cycle and not do the same things. Like, say, eat everything on your plate because children in China are starving. Like, that's just force feeding. That doesn't serve. The body knows, and you have an innate wisdom of what's going on with your body when you are full, when you don't want to eat anymore, or you're not attracted to having a carrot or a broccoli, but you would love to have some squash. I mean, so you can pendulum test. You could look into kinesiology testing, the sway test. These are all things to help you get to know yourself. And that's what I loved about Jin Shin Jyutsu, or continue to love, is the fact that it really helps you find your greatest gifts and who you are and knowing yourself. And it's been a beautiful art, and the friendships that I've made from it is just amazing. So I really appreciate Mary and Master Jiro for teaching this to the world. And here, being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I think it's also Menopause Awareness Month or week or day or something, holding space and having that awareness, talking about certain things, real important. The time is now. And when you're authentic and speaking your truth and being in the heart-brain coherence, that's when the magic happens, because you don't feel judgment, you don't feel fear, you don't feel any of those low vibration emotions. All you feel is joy and being and giving back, and it's a beautiful thing. We got less than 30 seconds, and then we're going to switch to the other side. And this is day 10. I noticed that day 9 didn't upload, so I'm going to have to look into that. But we are on day 10, almost halfway through the 21 days. And why 21 days? Well, it's twofold. One, Mary's birthday falls on October 21st. And, let's switch. So we're going to take our right hand and put it to our upper left arm and our left hand on our upper right thigh above the knee. So Mary's birthday was on October 21st. And in order to create a habit, a new habit, it takes 21 days. It takes 21 days for your body, mind, everything to get to figure out what the new habit is. And if you've read the book Atomic Habits, habit stacking is much easier to do than just create a new habit. I've studied a lot with Dr. Amen, Jim Quick, and there's one other brain guy. He escapes me for right now. They all talk about neuroplasticity, and that's the ability of the brain to actually make new neurons and creating new thoughts, new habits, new pathways. And the latest thing I was reminded, because I knew this years ago and then I forgot, when you're taking a class or you're learning something, including piano or an instrument or singing or something, the next 72 hours are crucial to getting into your long-term memory. So repetition is a very good word to, a way to learn things. Repeating it, that gets it into the subconscious, long-term memory. So repetition is really important, and that's why you do it for 21 days. And then the brain actually making those new neurons, it takes 3 days for that neuron to get really in your head for long term. So think of it as like a little thread. That's the first time that you think of or you read something and you want to get in your brain. That's like a little thread size, thickness in your brain. And then the next time you do it, and over and over again, then it gets even thicker to the size of a rope. And then you do it even more times and it gets, as large as like a tree trunk. So just like a pathway, the first time you walk into, let's say it's more like uncharted terrain. Let's say a grass field or a rainforest. Once the first person's cutting through the path and making that, pathway for you, the second person, it's a little bit easier too. So each person after that, let's say, is a new time that you're doing a habit or a project or learning something or learning how to dance, something, a certain move for your body, learning how to drive a car or a plane. So each time you do it, you're making that groove of that pathway more and more defined. So think about that way. It's not one and done. Never, ever, ever. And all of us that crammed that for that, exam the next day, that crammed the night before and just did all this information, all that got was in our short-term memory. That's all it did. If you would have continued to look at your notes the next couple of days later, 3 days later, then it would have been an actual part of you, a good memory in your subconscious or in your brain. And so when you had your final exam at the end of the year, you actually retained some of that information. So 72 hours after you learn anything, please take the time to repeat, to look at your notes, review your notes. That's why it's so important to have a nighttime and morning routine where you can do these types of things. And if you're trying to change your mental state to a more positive state, well, that's when you need to do it, because that's when you're programmable. That's when your brain is in theta, when you're waking up in the morning and as you go to sleep. So this is why hypnotherapy can work so well, because it gets you into that theta brain. So real important stuff out there really, if you want to improve yourself, if you want to get to know yourself. And that is your greatest gift. Because if you're eating, let's say, broccoli all the time, and yet you're allergic to broccoli, are you doing yourself any favors? No. Yes, it's a healthy food, but it's not a healthy food for you. That's why they invented stuff like Viome, Viome, Viome test. It's either blood, spit, or stool, and you send the sample to the Viome people, and they actually take your samples and they find out different pathways, things you're allergic to, your superfoods, things to stay away from 30 days, 6 months, and then retest to see how your biology's doing. They don't sell your DNA information to anyone. They use the DNA and the information within house. And they've been creating some amazing videos and information out there. So if you go to my website, Finding Coherence, you can go scroll to the tab that says Viome, Viome, and that one will send you to the link and you can investigate it for yourself if that's something that you want to do. But I do it, my family does it now. And what I found is that there was a period of time where tomatoes were something that I shouldn't eat. And so I stopped eating that. And then the next time I did the test, it was surprisingly broccoli, cabbage, the nightshades, Brussels sprouts, to stay away from them for 6 months. And that was the main thing we were eating because it was winter time, for months. So it was a good thing that I did check to make sure that, I don't eat that anymore. Now, surprisingly, broccoli is my superfood. And this was a year ago that I did the test that I had to stay away from broccoli. And broccoli is one of my favorite foods, roasted. Sometimes I do it raw, but it's mostly roasted. I like to eat most of my food raw, like salads and homemade olive-based salad dressing, and then a clean organic protein. And then I usually eat that heavier meal. That's my biggest meal, between, I don't know, 1 and 3 usually. And then sometimes I don't even eat again. I'm not hungry. First thing in the morning, I usually don't, depending if I'm intermittent fasting, I might go 17, 18 hours. So then that gets me like at 1 o'clock. So that's when I'm eating. But sometimes I use Danger coffee, bulletproof coffee in the morning. That's the coffee that you put the butter in. Nothing else, no sweetener, you don't need it. And that helps me hold my fast longer. So I'm not eating, or my stomach's growling, but yet the fat and the butter and also MCT oil helps kind of satiate your body, so that way you're not hungry. But that's how I lost a lot of weight and got down to my high school weight, was intermittent fasting, and then every month doing a 24 weekly doing a 24-hour water fast, but now more doing 3 to 5 day water fast. That to me is really kicking the autophagy, which is the natural way of your body to clean itself out, basically. Cells die off, and then you clean that out through your waste, and then recycles all over again. So it's not just the food though, it's also the water, drinking your body weight from pounds to ounces. So if you're weighing 125 pounds, that's a gallon of water you need to be drinking a day. So if you're weighing more than that, guess what? It's more than a gallon. You could do half your body weight, start with that. But your poop will tell you whether or not how healthy you are. And you need to look at your poop. I was going to do a shit show the other day about just talking about your poop and the Bristol chart and the importance of looking and admiring what's coming out of you, because that will tell you how healthy you are. But I am not doing that right now, this week, at one time. But if you're interested in the Viome, put Viome in the comments. If you have any other questions or any topics you want to talk about, put in the comments, and I'll get back with you. So day 10 down, we got 20 seconds left. So again, do this 3 times a day, 20 minutes, 10 minutes on one side, 10 minutes the other. You can do it watching TV, going to sleep, doesn't matter. Anytime, anyway, there's unlimited time when it comes to self-care with Jin Shin Jyutsu. So have a good day. See ya.